some light on here. Parashat Shoftim, Rabotai. Parashat Shoftim, fantastic. Why is it so fantastic? Everybody knows? Because it's one parasha away from my bar mitzvah parasha. Yep. Parashat Shoftim. Very interesting halacha over there, or mitzvah over there, that says, Ki tavoi la'aretz, upon your arrival to the land, asher Hashem Elokecha noten lecha, which God is giving to you, not to the Palestinians, right? By the way, I'm talking about Palestinians. I'm going to tell you something. I would recommend to all of you who like rock music not to listen to Pink Floyd. Especially after what Roger Waters they had this show in Madison Square Garden. And for all of those of you who say, well, I like Pink Floyd music, but I don't agree with his politics, I don't even do that. When I hear Pink Floyd, I turn it off, or I switch to the, whatever station.
What do you say?
He made a whole show against Israel, the atrocities of Israel, and so on and so forth. I'm sick and tired of the lie that's called Palestine, but that's a different sugya. Anyway, so in which God is giving you, the land in which God is giving you, v'yirashta, you will inherit it, v'yashavta ba, and you would settle down in the land. Then all of a sudden you're going to say, v'amarta, asima alai melech kechol hagoyim asher sevivotai. I will therefore crown upon myself a king, just like the rest of the nations that are around me. That's what I want to do. The Torah says, if that's the case, som tasim alecha melech, asher yivchar Hashem Elokecha, which God will choose. And he will have to be mikerev achecha. He has to be from among your brothers. You can put a stranger, a foreigner, asher lo achicha hu. You can nominate Biden or Barack Obama as your king. However, rak lo yarbelo susim, you should not have a lot of horses. Velo yashiv et aham mitzrayma, and you should not make the people go back to Egypt. Leman harbot sus, in order, why would they go back to Egypt? Because he wants a lot of horses. Arabian horses came from Egypt. So he wants a lot of horses. Oh, let's go back there. Amar lachem lo tosifu lashuv baderech hazot. They're going to tell you, don't go in that path, down the path again. Velo yarbelo nashim. Don't have a lot of women. Velo yasu levavo v'chesev v'zahav lo yarbelo meod. And he should make sure not to have a lot of gold and silver. V'aya kishivto al kisei mamlachto, when he was sitting on his throne, v'katav lo et mishnah haTorah hazot, he should write himself a Sefer Torah, right? Al haSefer milifnei haKohanim haLeviim, v'ayta imo v'kara bo kol yemei chayav, and he would read to it every single day. He has to read it all the time. He's not going to, a Jewish king should not just sit down and watch Netflix. He's going to sit there and he's going to read the Torah all the time. Why? Lemal yilmad leyirah, he need to teach himself to have awe and fear of God, his king. Lishmor el kol divrei haTorah azot, to guard all the words of the Torah. V'achukim ha'ele la'asotam, and he should do all these mitzvot. Lebilti rum levavo, so his heart would not be arrogant from his brothers. Lebilti sur min ha'mitzvah, yamin u'smol, because he is not allowed to divert from the mitzvah, right or left. Why? Leman ya'arich yamim al mamlachto hu uvanav b'kerev Yisrael, in order for his kingdom to last many years, him and his children among the Jews. Well, first of all, it is a huge machloket among the Rishonim if we have to have kings to ourselves. Some Rishonim says no. It's only if you want to be like the rest of them. Technically, we don't. We have a king. We have Hashem. Why do I need another king? Why do I need a king who's going to take your daughters to serve his house? Going to take your sons to fight for a war for him, to build for him. What do I need a king for? Today, I mean, if you're going to tell this to people, they're going to stone you. Oh, they think it counts as a package deal, but it's not necessarily so. Not necessarily so. It's a huge machloket among the Rishonim. And I'll tell you the truth, not who am I to, to decide, but I absolutely see those Rishonim who said that you don't have to have a king, only if you want to. I mean, we do have a king. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, Hashem. I don't need a king. Do I? Why is the Torah tells me if you would like to, therefore you should. However, under certain circumstances. What's the story here? So we're going to start a little bit out of order, and then we're going to see maybe towards the end, what does it have to do with us internally? So the expression "lebilti rum levo" from his brother Me'achiv, that he should not become more arrogant from his brothers, really deals with the prohibition of arrogance of the king. The Rambam Nachmanides really expanded on that, and he saw that expression as a hint for Isur, for the prohibition for Chol Adam, to every human being, especially Jews. And I'm quoting, כי הכתוב ימנע את המלך מגאווה ומרוממות הלב. The pasuk really prevents the king, a restriction, from become arrogant and to be full of himself. וכל שכן האחרים שאינם ראויים לכך. He learns it like this: if a king should not be arrogant, even more so everybody else. And that's the path that I'm going to take you down, that path. He says, כי הגאווה מידה מגונה ונמאסת אצל האלוקים אפילו במלך. Being arrogant and full of yourself, it is a disgraceful quality in front of God, even for a king. כי להשם לבדו הגדולה והרוממות. Only to Hashem is the greatness and aloofness, only to Hashem, not for a human being. ולא לבדו התהילה, and the fame is to him, ובו יתהלל האדם. Our fame or our glory is our closeness to God, not something that we did and who we are and what we achieved. So, of course, we have to still explain what is the expression levilti rum levavo me'achiv, so his heart would not be elevated from his brothers, and what does it have to do with the psukim? So the Ibn Ezra wrote, levilti rum levavo me'achiv, im haya chofshim min ha-mitzvot. If all of a sudden he said, I don't need to do mitzvot, I'm the king, I don't need to do mitzvot. As they say, it's good to be the king. Right? In other words, the pasuk explained to us that the reason that he needs to keep kol divrei ha-Torah, all the words of the Torah by the king, as it says in pasuk Yutet, as if the melech, if the king would have been free from mitzvot, he would be arrogant. Mitzvot is for the little people, not for me. That's why the king is obligated to keep the mitzvot just like, and if not more than anybody else, than any other Jew. And it's very interesting that another commentator much later, which is the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, Rabbi Chaim ben Atar, understood that reading the Sefer Torah, reading the Torah all the time, and they said the king had a Sefer Torah, it was like this, like a tefillin on his hand, Ayal Yado, in other words, like his hand, he would read this all the time. He really explains on what Chazal says in Masechet Avot in Perek Vav, Mishnah Aleph, ומלבשתו ענווה ויראה, והוא אומרו כי באמצעות קריאת התורה לא ירום לבבו. In other words, by learning Torah, he's going to become humble. In other words, that's a lesson to all of us. If you find yourself to become an arrogant person, and you are learning Torah, no, probably not learning right. Or you're doing something wrong. You can't be arrogant. Can't be arrogant. They say about Rabbi Chaim Palachi that when people used to praise him, Rabbi Chaim Palachi was Gadol Ador. You say, oh, Rabbeinu Gadol, he used to say, Lecha Hashem Agdolah, the glory and the fame is to you, Hashem, not to me. Don't ever let it even into you. Say, oh man, thank you. I appreciate it. That's not good. That's not good. That's not the derech of a ben Torah. If you are learning Torah, you have to be humble. Otherwise, if you are not a humble, if you're arrogant, and there is a midah of ga'ava in you, means to that point inside of you the Torah hasn't penetrated. And that's what the Orach Chaim says, that's why the king needs to learn Torah all the time. Oh, say, I'm the best, man, I'm good. You're not good. There's always going to be at least one person better than you. So you're not that good, if not a million people better than you. Whatever it is that you do, that you think you are great, you should know there are people who are much greater than you. If you don't understand what I'm saying, you don't believe what I'm saying, go look at Instagram. There's an amount of talent of people there with painting and things that they do, the pictures that they take. It's ridiculous. Make you feel like I don't know what. All around you. I mean, those platforms are really, in a way, could be a celebration of people's talent that until now couldn't do it because, they can't go to a gallery. I mean, just look around. It's like amazing people, amazing talents in all aspects of life. From rodeo to painting to carpentry. I mean, look, it's unbelievable. So as good as you are, you're nothing. If you think you're good, imagine, if not more, there are at least a million people better than you. So you're really nothing. You think you're rich? Somebody richer than you. You think that you're handsome? I'm more handsome than you. That's the way it works, right? That point that the arrogance comes from, that's the point that inside of you that there's no Torah. Nothing to be arrogant about. Don't hold it to yourself. So that's what he writes. So dealing the Torah kind of dresses up the person with humbleness. Look at Moshe Rabbeinu. I mean, Moshe Rabbeinu could have gone walking like this all day long, like, man, who's the prophet, eh? He was the greatest prophet. He was the whole Torah. And yet it was the most humble person ever walked the earth. That's your caliber. That's how you measure. That's why a melech is commanded to read the Sefer Torah all the time. However, Rav Bechor Shor, right, which was one of Baalei HaTosfot in, I think, 12th century, wrote, Levilti rom levavo me'achav, so he would not be arrogant, zetam lekesef ve'zahav lo yarbelo. That's the reason why he should not have a lot of money, in other words, a lot of possessions. Levilti su mina mitzvah, because you're going to have a lot of money, you're going to go off the derech. And that's the reason it says, al sefer Torah shiyeh yotze v'nichnas imo. You have to sit down and learn Torah all the time. Of course, this is all a practical mitzvah of our interaction with a king and how we're going to choose a king, but it's more than that also. So the expression that we deal now, levilti su min mitzvah, for him not to remove from the commandments, from the mitzvah, is the reason that we have of the king, that the king has to be attached to the Sefer Torah all the time. And it says the Gemara, it says the Psukim, Pasuk Yudchet and Yutet, and the other Pasuk is Pasuk Chav. And as the Mishnah said in Masechet Sanhedrin, Perek Bet, Mishnah Daled, Vekotev lo Sefer Torah lishmo, he writes, the king writes a Sefer Torah for the sake of Sefer Torah, Yotze la milchama, Motziayim, he goes to a war, Sefer Torah is with him. Nichnas, everything he does, the Sefer Torah is attached to him. Everything that he does, Sefer Torah has to be attached with him. Without getting into Jewish anthropology and so on and so forth, one of the reasons the Hasidim have a small Sefer Torah because the Admor is like a melech and he has to have a Sefer Torah with him all the time, but I'm not getting into this now. And you should, if you want to look at If you want to look at the Braita in Sanhedrin also, in Chaf Aleph Amud Bet, it says, וכתב לו את משנה התורה, כותב לשמו שתי תורות. He writes two ספרי תורה. אחת שהיא יוצאת, anything that he goes out is going to be with him, ואחד שנכנסת is with him also, ואחד שמונחת לו בבית גנזיו, and one that he actually puts in his archives, and one that he goes in and out, he goes out, and one is going to be in the archive. So he has to write two Sifrei Torah. So according to Arav Bechor Shor, that expression, Levil Tirum Levavav Me'achiv, is referring to, as we say, to the prohibition of having a lot of gold and money, and for him not to be arrogant. So if you're going to look at this three prohibition of the king, the Isur, the prohibition to have horses, the prohibition to have women, a lot of women, and the prohibition to have a lot of gold and silver, we see that the first two Isurim, two prohibitions, the Torah itself gives us the reasons why. רק לא ירבה לו סוסים ולא ישיב את העם מצרימה. Don't have a lot of horses, because you're going to go back, you're going to bring everybody back to Egypt in order to have a lot of horses. ולא ירבה לו נשים, and don't have a lot of women. Why? למען לא יסור לבבו. So his heart, instead of being in fulfilling the duties of a king, he's going to be, hopping around his wives and concubines. But the prohibition of kesef v'zahav lo yarbelo, he should not have a lot of gold and money, in a way, is not giving a reason why he should not have that. However, according to the Pirush of Rabbi Bechor Shor, even the third prohibition has given a reason by the Torah itself, as it says, "V'chesed v'zahav lo yarbelo meod." Why? Levil tirom levavo me'echav. Having a lot of money will make you arrogant. And let's say, for example, we're talking about a kingdom. Let's talk about a kingdom. And in a kingdom, there are citizens of the kingdom, and of course, there's a king. And the job of the king is really to take care of the well-being of his kingdom. He's not there to have fun. The king is not a celebrity. A Jewish king is there to serve the people. The people are not there to serve the king. That's your job. If he is not capable of doing that, he's a bad king. And by the way, that's true to anyone who is in the head of any kind of organization. Whether you're a boss and you have workers, whether you're head of a family, and so on and so forth, your job is not just to make money, to make business. It's first of all to take care of the well-being of your people. I mean, those people rely on you. They have families. They feed their families. If you decide to fire somebody, it should be as hard for you as pulling teeth out of your mouth. If you decide to cut down on people, did you ever think about what's going to be with these people? Where they're going to live? How they're going to eat? When you are head of a government or state, you're sending people to die. There are people there, soldiers mainly, which you're sending to die. And you know that you, by sending these people, are going to make widows and orphans. And I just don't like, because of that, all these politicians who don't even blink an eye and send people to death for saving their own selves and to save them from all kind of like crazy stuff that they do. I mean, you don't send people to Somalia because you have to pay for a dry cleaning bill. You know what I'm saying? Or because you want oil from Iraq, or whatever that is. Take care of the problem. Don't send people to die. People are there, they're soldiers, but that's what we are talking about. It's the sense of duty and mission. The people are there for you to serve, not for them to serve you. And we don't have it. The problem is we keep on voting for the same people over and over and over and over again. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I think one time we should put aside all these political camps in which we are creators of the, our life as a country. It's not a basketball team or a rivalry between the Red Sox and the Yankees. The White Sox, I don't know, whatever they're rivalry against. We should put this to the side and then just vote them all out. But they'll keep on making the same mistake and then come and complaining. And that's what the Torah is telling us. Show me one politician that is not rich or wealthy. Show me one. Somehow, they're all entering and they become millionaires. Show me one. AOC is, she has more money than you'll ever have. Okay? So, and it could be also, so therefore it could be, that's the king, and that's the country that we say. Another type of a kingdom is of a house. Of a family, a family cell, when you have a lot of members and a lot of people, in that. And first of all is the wife, akeret habayit. In your house, the wife is the center column of the house, not you. Your wife, the mother is, and she's the queen of the house. And we call it akeret habayit. Akeret habayit. In English, it sounds bad. She's a housewife. What is a field wife, and a housewife, and there's a bar wife? What kind of thing is that? In Hebrew, it's called akeret bayit. Akeret bayit, akeret mishum ikar. She is the house. And we know, right? V'chiper ba'ado u'va'ad beito. Mi beito ela ishto. Who is his house? His wife. Your house is the center of the house, the atmosphere of the house. Whatever's going to be in the house is your wife. That's why you got to be very careful who you're picking for a wife. You got to be very careful. She's going to make your house. So that's the second. The third type is the human body. It also has many, parts to it and limbs to it. But at the head, at the top of it, there is one limb that takes care of all, which is the heart. The heart goes out, everything is out. That basically sends the energy to all the other parts of your body, and everything goes after the heart, right? If the heart is not working right, the whole body is weak. I don't care how strong your mind is. And Melech, a king, do it on an angle. Do it on a 45-degree angle. Open it now. No, 45-degree, honey, not 90 degree. 45-degree. Now open it. That's right. See, when you open a bottle of soda at 45 degrees, you simply allow the bubbles to come out. And that's why it doesn't spill on you. So now you owe me because I told you something. So a melech, a king, is the heart of society. And when he's doing what's good for the rest of society, everybody enjoys it, everybody benefits. However, if he does it for himself only, that's a destructive dictatorship. When you become the focal point as the leader, you become the focal point of society. That's a dictatorship, and it's devastating. And we need, pay attention to the location of the heart, right? It's not at the top. It's more or less at the center of your body. And that's why he's able to send energy all over, up and down. You would think the heart should be up here, but it's right in the middle. And if we're going to look at the Targum Yonatan, Targum Yonatan ben Uziel, for the prohibition of not having a lot of gold and silver, it says, "V'chaspa v'dahava lo yesagir delo yitaromem libe lechada v'imrod be'eloha deshmaya." You should not have, the Targum Yonatan translated, that having the king a lot of money going to lead him to betray God. That's why many kings in the ancient world thought that they were gods. So many politicians think that they're gods. And that's the reason, again, the Gemara writes that the Kadosh Baruch Hu, when looking for a good gift to give the goods, he gave them poverty. לא מצא הקדוש ברוך הוא מידה טובה אלא עניות לעם ישראל. You come rich, everything else comes. You become arrogant, you forget about God. I don't have to do this, right? And so on and so forth. So according to him, the prohibition to have a lot of gold and money is that he would not be arrogant, and as a result that we rebelled against God, right? And it's very possible that this Tirgum gave us another reason for the prohibition because of what we call the lack of explanation that the Torah is giving us. But in any case, according to Harav Bechor Shor, as we said before, the reason is right there in the Torah itself. Now, Am Yisrael is the chosen people. We all know that. And we need what is so-called Hashlemut HaRishon, the initial wholeness that we need, that natural leadership as much as the rest of the nations. We need that. I mean, we haven't reached a level, and that's why I really think different. We haven't reached a level, each and every one of us, that we would initiate responsibility, individual responsibility, to do what we're supposed to do. That's why we need somebody else to tell us what we need to do. That's why we need to have some kind of a judgment. Shoftim v'shotrim titei lecha b'chol sha'arecha. But why do we need judges or policemen to enforce the laws? If we know that it's good, we don't do it. I mean, right? Technically, it's really stupid to have speed cameras. So everybody drives slow, and then after speed, I think instead of speed cameras, which is all about money, it's not about safety. And driving 25 miles an hour in the city is not about safety, it's about controlling the people, but that's a different case. But I think you should put red light cameras, because red light cameras kill people. It's very simple. But if you understand the importance of having a red light, the importance of having a stop sign, you don't need cameras, you would stop them because it makes sense. We haven't reached that level in terms of individual people. We haven't reached that level of responsibility to do so. That's why we need somebody else to guide us to do the right thing. And of course, I think it's a bad state of affairs. The time of the Messianic era, if we were supposed to reach such a level of enlightenment, I think we'll reach a level that we don't need a king, because we all know what's right and what's wrong. We do know now. The problem is that we make a lot of noise to forget it. But everybody knows that. Now, but if we do so, like if we need rules like any other nation, somebody to write for us, so in addition to that natural leadership that every nation needs to have, any group of people needs to have, somebody needs to be a leader, Am Yisrael needs to make themselves appropriate, shetitabek b'hem hashgacha elokit, that the divine presence will attach themselves to it. In other words, we need to make ourselves appropriate to become a vessel in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu would dwell into us or among us, not just like for law and order. In other words, we need to take things to a different level. And that's what being a Jew is all about. Everybody does things. Everybody eats. Everybody does whatever they do. Jews eat and they multiply and they do it, so on and so on. But you need to do it different. You need to do it in a way that is going to be appropriate for God to dwell around you. That's why you can eat in a certain way. That's why you cannot eat in certain places. That's why there's certain food you can and there's certain food you can't. That's why there's the laws of the Torah. All this is to make us into receptacles to be able to make Malchut Shamayim here on earth. And that's on you and me. If we can't do that, we're going to have a king that's going to force us to do it. So, if we look at all this, like against the Ramban that saw a certain blemish or downside for Jews to want to be like all the other nations and to learn from them, okay, let's have a king, let's have this, because everybody else does. The Bala Akedah sees a blemish in the need of the Jews to stay under the ruling of the king like the rest of the nation. And Am Yisrael is expected to be different than everybody else. Elevate ourselves. But, and for that he adds, be'ofen yoter shalem mikulam, in a more complete way. We need to have a king, but for a totally different reason. We need to have a king to help us guide ourselves, to focus ourselves, to better serve Hashem, to better make this place appropriate for Hashem, but not because we cannot keep the laws ourselves. So it's an individual discipline that we need to have, and according to Bala Akedah, the king leads us to this. And the Baal Meshech Chochmah, Rav Meir Simcha Midvinsk, that probably did not mention Rav Bechor Shor, explained the psukim a little bit different. It says, "B'mitzvah desusim v'nashim k'tiv ta'ama," in the mitzvah of having women and horses, he gives the reason. Ach lo yarbe lo ke'esef v'zahav, lo ne'emar ta'ama, he didn't say the reason. According to him, v'nira mi pshut הפסוק לביל תירום לבבו מאחיך ולביל תיסוג מן המצווה ימין ושמאל, so you would not go off the דרך, קאי לפרש הטעמים על שני דברים. Therefore we need to explain it in two different ways. A, אסור למלך להרבות כסף וזהב. He is not allowed to have a lot of money and gold, ולכתוב לו את משנה התורה, and therefore he needs to write the משנה התורה, ועל זה נאמר לביל תירום לבבו, so he would not become arrogant. דמשום הכי לא ירבה לו כסף וזהב. Because of that, you should not become arrogant. Levil tisum min mitzvah. You want to go off the derech. Mishum hachi v'chtiv lo et mishnei Torah, and that's what your Targum Yatan says. And I'm going to tell you something else. So that's very nice. We learned a little bit about the king. We learned about what we should do, what we should not do. But I'm going to tell you this. We said before that each and every one of us, our body also, is like a kingdom, and we have to have a king. Each and every one of us need to conduct himself in order to be able to do what we need to do. We need to lead ourselves in the appropriate way. And everything that says about the king should be applied to you or to us individually. Don't be like the rest of them. Listen, we all need to eat. We all need to go to Walmart and pay our bills. We all need to go to Costco. We all need to do all these things to buy food. We need food to eat, like the rest of the nations. And in order to eat, rule number one, don't take from the government. You gotta work. Get your money and work. But don't work like everybody else. Don't work for the sake of having a lot of money. Oh, I have a lot of money. What do you need a lot of money for? You need to work for your needs. Because if you're going to work for the money, your desire is to have a lot of money, I'm going to tell you this, based on this pasuk in the Torah, you're going to go off the derech. You're going to cut corners. You're going to look for loopholes. You're going to start violating things because your goal is not serving Hashem. Your goal is to make money. We need to be like everybody else. Stop looking at women all the time. Well, you've seen one, you've seen them all. The only difference is in your head. Lo yarbe lo nashim. Yes, you need to have a wife. I agree with you. Maybe not. You need to have a wife. Stop looking around at other women. Stop being obsessed with what society is exactly telling you. So our society is overly sexed and overly materialistic. And because of that, there's no God among us. Each one is for his own. We all want to step on one another. We don't want to build one another. Lo yarbe lo susim. Don't go after materialistic things, cars, which car you're driving, which car you're not driving. I want a better Rolex, I want a President Rolex, I want a Daytona Rolex, I want a Patek Philippe, I want a Matak Kilik. Huh?
All good choices.
All good choices. I'm going to tell you something. I don't know anything about watches. I don't care. I have this watch here, best watch. I don't have to change batteries. Doesn't go bad. Changes itself when I go to over countries. Gives me my altitude. Gives me my compass. Gives me barometric pressure. I'm all good. I'm having this watch already, Bili Ayin Hara, for about 15, 16 years now. It runs on solar. I'm good to go. I got a Rolex, I got a Schmolex. Stop looking at these things. The way we said here about conducting the ourselves, yes, we need to do the things that all the other nations do, both as a nation and as individuals. But we need to do it different. You need to conduct yourself. And why? You need to sit down and learn Torah every single day. Don't tell me I have an internship, I have an externship, I have a middle ship, I have a drowned ship, I have a sunken ship. Don't tell me I got burnt out, I got this, I got too much, I got a wife, I got children, I have a beard, I have whatever. Shtuyot. Gotta learn Torah every single day. Oh, I gotta go camping before I'm gonna go back to work. I go back to work. My avodat Hashem. Fine, I agree with you. How about your avodat Hashem? How about that? Every single day you gotta learn it. You go out. Beknisato, when he comes out to work, goes out to work, comes into this, king has to wait all the time. Are you the king? You leading yourself? Well, I guess not. If you want to lead yourself, if you want to live your life, start acting like a king. And a Jewish king is different than the other king. Start serving people. Start caring about the well-being of other people. Stop being so materialistic. You're not going to take the money with you. Meanwhile, you're missing out your life. And as I told you, it ain't fun getting old. Especially if you were too busy when you were young to have fun. You're missing out the whole life, chasing after nonsense. The only one who went with all his money to the grave is Korach. Do something that is meaningful. Start learning Torah. Stop with the nonsense that society has put into your head. You need to circle your life around Torah. Learning is the focal point of your life. It's the center of the wheel that turns your life around. Not a pebble stone that you kick with your feet. You need to start living your life as leaders and lead yourself. Don't let any other person or any other entity lead you. That's what it means to be a Jew. A Jew is a free man. A free man makes his choices, leads, cares, helps society, and that's how we build society. By helping, by caring, and so on and so forth. If we are in a survival mode, listen, I don't have time to help you, I got to take care of myself. If we want to make the difference, don't wait for some Messiah to come and help you from this party or the other party. It ain't coming. You wanna be helped. You want to make a difference. You want things to change. You want things to become better. Start doing it yourself. Start concentrating on what is important. Start learning more. You're not learning enough. That's a given. You're not learning enough. If you would dedicate to Torah as much time as you dedicate to everything else, to the most insignificant things out there, and including all your degrees are insignificant, I guarantee you, you'll be Gdolei Ador. You'll be giants of Torah. Because if you have the sechel to get a PhD, you have a sechel to get smicha for Rabbanut. If you can write a doctorate, you could write a sefer for halacha. You haven't written it, it's not because you're not good, it's because you made the wrong decision. Shabbat Shalom.